Okay, hello and welcome. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com, and we are here for a new session in our Fall 2014 BI and Reporting webcast series. Today I'm happy to welcome Adam Thomas. He is a Customer Success Manager at Target with a focus on retail and services. Adam is a first-time presenter for us, and he's here today to talk about how to solve the biggest retail problems with BI for Microsoft Dynamics. I just wanted to add that we do invite you to add your feedback and ask questions today during Adam's presentation. I'd also like to let you know that we are recording today's session. So as we get started, please know that you can use the Q&A block on the right or the chat to enter your feedback or questions. And without further delay, please allow me to introduce Adam Thomas. Adam, are you there?
I am Jason. I appreciate the introduction, and thank you everybody for joining us today. As Jason mentioned, I am a first-time presenter for the Dynamic community, so take it easy on me. But anyway, just wanted to, like I said, thanks again for giving me the opportunity to talk to you guys. On the bottom right-hand side, you'll notice that there's a Q&A section. Please feel free to ask any type of question as I continue to go through my presentation. We have about a few slides, and then we're going to go through a demo and then follow it up with more slides. If you have any questions along the way, please just write them down, and then I'll get to them at the end. If there's any questions that I feel that I can't answer to 100% of my knowledge, I will promise to get back to you after I consult with someone internally. So feel free to jot them down, and hopefully we can get them all answered as we kind of go through everything. So just want to go ahead and get started. And as we go through here, just a quick agenda for today. Give you some background on Target, as well as going through some industry trends, and hopefully be able to nitpick and start solving some of the most common problems that retailers have. And then we're going to go through the demo of the Target Decision Suite 2014, and then have some time for some Q&A as well. So again, like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to jot them down on the right-hand side. A little bit of things about Target. We are a pure play BI provider. We were founded almost 30 years ago in Denmark. We've been in the United States for close to 15 years now. With 5,000 customers worldwide, we're the most utilized BI tool for Microsoft Dynamics, with over 3,700 Target customers using Microsoft Dynamics at this time. So what are analysts saying about us? Well, that we do have the highest concentration of Microsoft Dynamics, in which no other vendor is able even close to replicate, and that's what Gartner mentioned in last year's survey, as well as our ability to be the top-ranked tool as far as data discovery, big data, and analytics that Mark mentioned us early this year. So we do have a big role in Microsoft Dynamics, and we have for years. The Target journey, as we're going to take through everyone, is that we don't want to just be a software company that just gives you a tool to use the software and then wipe our hands with you. We want to be on that journey with you as you become a data-driven organization. And we want to first understand the health of your business. That starts honestly with first building a data warehouse, connecting the most critical data sources, not only the data sources that you have within Dynamics, but external data sources. And then be able to share that data using dashboards, analyses, mobile BI, storyboards, and reports. So once that's all set up, the journey isn't done. We're just actually starting. And so as Target helps you become more data-driven, now you want to be able to do is experience operational excellence, as we call it. And what this allows you to do is set data free to anyone within the organization, decision makers, vendors, suppliers. You want to be able to access data across departments and kind of have collaboration and be able to create one universal truth. Done are the days of one department kind of operating on their own without having really any insight into how the other department, because as we're starting to realize, especially in multi-channel environments, all departments feed off each other. And that if sales are low, it might necessarily be just what's going on in the stores. It could be the companies we're using to ship our inventory are not up to par, changes need to be made, but also you need to be able to have that insight just so you can plan accordingly. So really it's becoming a data-driven organization, as well as being able to analyze data, the ad hoc data sets outside of the data warehouse. And then finally is being able to analyze external data and underlie that with your current data that you're having fed in from your data sources. So being able to look outside the organization, extend your value chain, and learning what's going on before and after you meet customers. That could be following Google Trends, could be following Twitter, sentiment, what people are saying on Facebook, especially in the retail space. You really have to know what your customers are saying. And that way, if there is an issue, you can get ahead of it before it becomes too big of a problem. Or if you see you're really having some success, ramp it up and not having to wait necessarily at the end of the month to find out just by looking at how your sales are doing. So the target philosophy, that's behind the product, as you're going to see when I take you through the demo, is what we call the action loop. And it's the process that everyone who uses our tool goes through when they first come into the solution. No matter if you're a decision maker, if you're an analyst, if you're just a consumer of data, if you're in production, if you're in sales, you're in finance, it really doesn't matter what your role is. You're going to use Target in very similar ways. But the good thing with Target is that you can mean something to different people within the organization. You're going to have different personas using the tool. You need to be able to build the solution so each person can get the most out of it. So if you want to take an example of, everyone kind of starts off in the observation phase, whether it's looking at a dashboard, a report, or notification agent. You could be, in this instance, a district manager with having 7 retail stores under your umbrella, and you're looking at a dashboard, you notice that you had some heavy promotions come out that went either through the mail or went on through online marketing, and you realize that in your district, sales didn't really jump up as they did in other districts. So what you want to do now is that you want to be able to kind of do a deeper dive into your data. We call that the orientation phase. So you're doing analysis, you might be applying criteria, and in this instance, you might notice that, well, you know what? The reason why our sales didn't really mimic our promotions is because our shipments did not come in time, and our stores, they actually didn't have enough inventory for supply and demand. So it really wasn't the store's fault. So just by looking at the numbers sometimes, you might not necessarily be the store's fault itself for the salespeople. It could just be that they didn't have the necessary inventory to move the product. So based on these facts, now what happens is that you can make a decision. And with Target, you're going to have the courage to act because you know that everything you're going to decide on right now is based on facts pulling in from all your different data sources as well as your external sources. So now when it comes time to do action, which is the final step of the loop, is that you may be able to communicate to your higher-ups at maybe more of a regional or national level, that here is why the past month the promotions didn't seem to work in my district, but also that communication can be made to the companies that you use to ship your products, that we either need to make a change or we make sure this doesn't happen again. And then finally, you can decide if you need to roll out promotions for an additional month to offset the previous month not having the correct inventory. So that just could be an example of how a department or how an individual might use the action loop to go through. And we'll take a deeper dive into that when I go through the demo portion as well. So when it comes to industry facts, we're finding that 40%, there's an annual growth of 40% in data per company. And that's not even counting what we're getting from external data. Companies now are having access to more and more data sources. More and more data sources are filling in, possibly to the data warehouse. And so you need a vehicle that can give you a universal truth. The problem is, though, is that 80% of most of the data being analyzed in BI is actually coming from lagging indicators and not KPIs. We found that a lot of companies think they're judging or looking at KPIs, but they're really not. If all you're seeing is the results, you need to really have that access to the factors that are leading to those results, because that is when the change can be made. And a lot of times you don't have to necessarily wait if there's an issue until you get the final results at the end of the month. You can kind of stay ahead of it and be proactive instead of reactive. And Gartner did a report. It said that 59% of CEOs and other executives consider that they are not managing the right business analytics. And that could just be because you're having multiple data sources. You don't necessarily have insight across all departments. And it really does make it difficult for other departments to kind of, to coordinate and work together when things are being pulled in from different data sources and there's not one universal truth to all that. So as I mentioned before, 80% of data analyzed in most companies is based just on results. And that's actually just on the left-hand side here where my mouse is for lagging indicators. A lot of times companies are maybe have gauges or bar charts, or they're looking at figures of just revenue, cost, gross margin, profit margin, inventory turnover. But these are what we call lagging indicators. These aren't really going to allow you to find the root of the problem if there is a problem. What you really want to be focusing on is internal leading indicators, for one, which could be customers coming into your store, could be website visitors. It could be sales by representative. It could be employee satisfaction. customer retention, customer satisfaction. External leading indicators could be, what are people saying about you and your company on Twitter, Facebook? What are Google Trends telling you? What is your SEO ranking when people are searching for your company on the internet? As well as being able to see, is the marketing that your company is sending out, is it really hitting the right people? What are your hit rates? What are your success rates? These are the things that are actually going to be able to tell you if you're on track, and not necessarily just the revenue and the cost. Because while your revenue could be at a satisfactory or an above average level for you, but really if you're not analyzing internal and external leading indicators, you really are going to have a hard time to increase that number. So what is the perfect order? A lot of people ask us that, and what the perfect order means is that it's when an order that arrives at the right time, at the right place, in the right condition, in the right package, with the right documentation, the correct invoice is sent out, and it's gone to the correct customer. When you add all those up, the perfect order should come out to about 100%. Well, this is really actually the things that you want to be tracking when it comes time to your indicators. You want to be tracking, is everything being shipped out to your stores on time? What is the condition of the inventory that it's coming in? Is it coming in the right packaging? If people are ordering online, it's being shipped out to them. Is the invoicing correct? And is it hitting to the right customer? So really, these are a lot of things that you want to be tracking outside of just profit and revenue, because these are the things that are going to lead to that. If you notice that a lot of your shipments are not coming in on time, really, if you have promotions out there, it doesn't really mean anything because you're not going to have the inventory to support it. How this affects retailers? Customers' demands are increasing more than ever. And so what happens is that you need to be able to support customers at all times. Retailers need to be able to track all channels and have it looked at as one huge multi-channel system. Track orders anywhere, track inventory, people buy, they want to return, that's going to affect all your different inventory numbers. If things are not being shipped out correctly, not going out on the right time, if there's returns, that's going to throw everything off. You need to be able to have perfect insight and be able to get your ratings up as big as possible. And also the thing is within internally is people that are tracking this data, as I mentioned before, the BI personas, each person's going to use data just a little bit differently. You're going to have some people that are going to be your real number crunchers. They're going to be looking at the bottom line. They could be your analysts. They could be in finance. You could have your consumers of data, your sales managers, your store managers. These are the ones that are going to just be looking at that, sometimes that lagging indicators, how we're doing at a store level. They don't necessarily need to see the nuts and the bolts at that point in time. But anyone within the organization, you need to be able to realize what is the best way and best vehicle for them to view data, in the BI solution that they're using. And so in that way, you have analytics for everyone. Just because you're not the most technologically savvy user, it doesn't really matter. If you have a good BI tool, you should be able to set up and work for you the best way possible. But the goal is to eliminate information silos. You need to be able to have people no matter where they are, whether it's just in one state, one district, could be a national level. You need to be able to have access into all these different departments and have everyone kind of connect and be able to collaborate together. Because when inventory managers know exactly how sales is doing, when sales knows when inventory managers are less or have more data than necessary, that's when you really start to see a data-driven organization really excel, and you start to see companies really increase profit margin, a lot of those external lagging indicators. So how does BI factor in all this? One thing is monitor your inventory, order status, fulfillment metrics automatically. You can integrate all your data sources from different fulfillment channels for a full clear overview of your supply chain, as well as you get to share insights within the organization through mobile devices, storyboards, embedded analytics, as well as interactive reports. So this is where we come to the Target Decision Suite 2014. We're going to get to the demo here in a couple minutes. But really the goal of this is to show you how, in our example, retail companies can use data and have it work for them, and then be able to communicate across different channels within a company, as well as be able to communicate no matter where someone is within the organization. If they're sitting at corporate office, if they're traveling overseas, or they're on the road, you want to be able to make sure that everyone has access to data no matter where they're at. Real quickly, before we go into that, I just want to kind of share with you a little bit of the target architecture behind. I know that this slide might be a little small, but what I want to be able to do is that I'm going to be able to share these slides with you at the end of the presentation. So if you want to have them, I'm going to have my email address available. But with the target architecture, what we're showing you here is that on the left-hand side, you're having the ability to bring in your Microsoft Dynamics data. Target has pre-built accelerators and cubes that are built right off the Microsoft stack. Therefore, we can latch on to your Dynamics data, build cubes very quickly. But the plus with us is that you also can bring in other data sources, whether it's Quandl, Hadoop, Excel flat files, big data, Google Trends, Access databases, payroll information. You really have everything at your fingertips to pull into one data warehouse. What you can do is that you can create one master cube or a separate cubes for each business area. It's really up to you. It then goes to the target server, which then can be pushed out in a variety of different ways. You can have access to just a client on a desktop. You can have it sent to a web client. You also have the ability to push it out on mobile devices, whether it's iPad, iPhone, Android, or Windows. We also have SharePoint integration. And we'll get to that after the demo as well, as we kind of go into how we can actually incorporate right into your SharePoint portal. Target Data Service is another way that Target allows you to do ad hoc analysis if you want to do it outside of the data warehousing side. It's one of our newest features and one of our most powerful features. This gives you the ability to analyze CSV, Excel, SQL Server, Quandl, for example, Google Trends, and be able to get that information at your fingertips and embed it right into Target immediately without having to go through the data warehouse. And if your data is pulled every once a day, you can get this data actually into your users, into your internal players before the actual data is pulled. So Target Data Service, it's a great tool that we're allowing our users to be able to do ad hoc analysis on data and have it right at their fingertips as soon as they do it. As I mentioned, information to the masses. We have Target Anywhere. It's a thin web client, so people, no matter where they're at, if they're in a hotel and they want to use the business center, they can log in real quick on a web client, get access to their most important dashboards and KPIs. When it comes to iOS, if they're traveling and they want to be able to look at it on their iPad, iPhone, Android, or Windows Phone, they have access through our applications that we built specifically for those devices, the ability to look at the same dashboards, analyses, and reports that they do if they're just sitting in the office. As I mentioned before as well, SharePoint integration, whether it can be just a static image or it can be a dynamic environment where everything is being updated in real time. So as I mentioned, we're going to get into the demo now. Again, if you have any questions as I'm going through, please feel free to jot them down in the Q&A box on the bottom right, and I promise to get to them when we're done with the demo. And so right now I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen. And I hope everybody can see that. So as we look into my screen right now, what we're looking at right here is our login for our Windows application. So as I log in here, you'll see that Target's a feature-rich integrated BI and analytics platform. You'll notice that my startup dashboard quickly gives me an overview of my most important KPIs to meet. So you see there's a nice portal look and feel to it, which is going to allow me to navigate between my most important dashboards. Now, this can be personalized for an individual user. You can have one dashboard for a specific department. You even can actually have it for an entire company. So through Target's client-server architecture, my access to data is completely controlled by the Target server. So you might have different people having access to similar dashboards, but you really do have the ability to control the access to certain data for your users by setting a specific rights and roles within the solution. So if we start off and say, if we want to go through the action loop, as I mentioned earlier, if I'm the VP at corporate, what I'm doing is that I'm looking at our stores on a national level. And what I want to do is that I have the most important KPIs set up for me on this dashboard. As we look at it here, we're looking at basket size, where right now we're currently a little over 1.5, with our goal being, as I hover over here, we want to be at 2.5. We're looking at our margin percentage, as well as the number of fraud incidents we have nationally. So actually that number is down, so that's pretty good, as well as promotions. And then on the bottom left, what we're seeing here is that development over time in margins and basket size, as well as on the bottom right, a benchmarking and number of incidents per store. And so in this example, the number of incidents is if a cash register is opened manually or without a discount being applied. So if I want to be able to, for instance, take a look at my promotions, I can just double click here on the promotions gauge. What it does is it takes me to a dashboard automatically linked to it. And what I'm looking at is a comparison of the gross sales amounts from 2013 to 2014, seeing if there's any differences, as well as being able to look at the amount of discounts we're providing per entry location and starting to see, are the discounts that we're offering, are they really being taken advantage of? So if I want to go back to where I was, I can just go back to my home screen here on my top, and we want to go back to my dashboard I was just currently at. We're going to go back and hide this because it gives us a little bit more room to operate. So if I'm the VP of corporate in this instance, what I want to do is that I'm kind of intrigued here why my two stores here, E and F, have the highest percentage of incidents. Maybe I want to take a deeper look into that. So what I can do is I can just click on store E right here. As you notice when I do that, all my different objects change. That's one of the great things with Target is that your dashboards are connected. So with this in one click, now I'm getting a look right into store E. And how would I know that? If I just clicked on my I button here under margin percentage, it's telling me right now that everything I'm looking at applies just to store E. And then we're looking at the margin sales percentage and what our margin sales percentage goal is for currently right now. If I wanted to quickly remove that and go back to where I was, I can just simply click in the white space, and it takes me back to where I was for my startup dashboard. But I am intrigued by what we're doing in store E, so I want to go back to store E. What I want to do is that I want to focus on basket size. So when I go over here, I'm going to hover over this, and I'm going to click on basket size. And just like promotions, I have an underlying dashboard that's right beneath it. So right now, all I'm looking at currently is store E. So what Target's showing me now is that there is a comparison of where we were from 2013 to 2014 with the store, as well as we're looking at the location. We're in the middle of Texas. It's showing me that I have, in this store, over the course of a year, a fluctuation of 1.9 to 1.7. And I forgot to mention it, but basket size in this instance is the number of items per shopping cart. So right now we can see here that this store is actually higher than our national average, which is over 1.5. But I also know I have more incidents. So maybe I'm wondering, are reps upselling on the fly? And I want to see maybe are certain reps in our stores better off in certain departments? And maybe we should maybe send some messages off to our individual stores and maybe give them an idea of how to maybe staff their stores from a corporate level. So if I look on my right side here, I also can see that I get an individual count of how my individual reps are doing across all departments. So I can see that my top rep here, as I click on his or her name, you can see here that they're averaging over 2, which is well above the national average. And if I look at it, they've actually increased their basket size from 1.9 and 2.1 over the course of a year. So that's really good. What I want to do is that I want to see is, does this particular person or does my staff in the store, do they excel in certain departments? Are they continually being rotated? Are different discounts, promotions working better in different departments within the store? I don't really know. So one of the things within Target which you can do is that if you have one of our higher functionality licenses is that you can actually amend very easily an existing dashboard. I'm just going to double click on the ribbon here. And what I want to do is that I actually want to add something to this quick analysis that I have within my dashboard. So what I want to do is that I actually want to take a look at and see how are my reps doing at our individual cash registers and different departments within the store. So if I just type in cash, Target recognizes that I have a measure in here that actually is pulling in data for cash register. So if I click on cash register, and if I just bring it right under staff ID, it's going to build that hierarchy. Hit my lightning bolt. And right now, when I expand here, now Target, I'm getting a lot more deeper analysis into my data. I'm not only getting the average of what my individuals are doing just in this one particular store, but I'm actually being told their average basket size for my individual departments. So I can see that my top performer overall excels well over 2 in almost every department except for 1. I don't know why that is. It could be that their staff there at a slow time of day. It could be they're not as comfortable upselling or working in that department. So what I want to do, though, is that instead of having to manually go through and spend a lot of time figuring out, do I have issues within certain departments? Do certain departments just not sell better than others? What I want to do is that I want to take a look at, within this store, the average sales, the average basket size per cash register as well. So I'm just going to right-click, and Target gives me the ability to add objects to dashboards as well. So what I want to do is that Target's going to give me the ability to bring in some other types of objects. What I want to do, though, is that I'm going to right-click, and we are going to bring in this instance, a horizontal bar chart. So what I want to do is that's going to drag and drop it to go right underneath. So what I want to do, though, is that I want to look at our average sales as far as basket size per cash register. And I'm simply just typing these in, and Target is recognizing that these are measures within the queue. So it's real simple. Click my lightning bolt. So right here now, I was able to easily add an object to my dashboard. And so now what I'm looking at is that the average basket size per cash register within the department, just within this one store. I can always take a look at the numbers behind within my different charts here. I can do this for any of my different objects. If I want to just double click on my cross tab, what I might want to do is that just click sort one time. And as I noticed is that when my top performer does pretty poorly in department N, the average actually is 1.7. So it really might necessarily be the actual products there or the time of day. It just could be that this rep just isn't either comfortable, or it might be better off just being staffed in another department the majority of the time. So I'm going to click back here, and I'm going to just get a nice look here and see my top performing departments as well as my lowest performing department. As the VP of Corporate, what I want to do is I want to keep track of this particular department within the store. So instead of me having to continually go in here every day, I'm going to have Target work for me. So all I want to do is I can right-click on any figure within any analysis, within any dashboard, and Target's going to notify me when sales changes in this context. So what this does is that you can say if it changes, increases, decreases, does not change at all. We're going to say if it increases more than 2%, I want to be notified. It's a great tool because what this allows you to do is that no matter if you're traveling, if you might not necessarily be in Target at that time, whatever figures you set up for these notification alerts, Target's going to let that user know. You can set it for multiple users as well. So it's a tremendous way for people within an organization to communicate with one another and be really on top of their data, because this is a great way for you to be able to stay proactive instead of reactive no matter where you're at. You could be in a different country at this time and be able to still monitor what's going on within your stores. You set up the schedule, how often you want to go out. If we say we just want to go out every afternoon at 12, if something changes, please let me know. And then delivery. You can just set it up to go to the Active Directory within your office, and then you can even include a message if you say, for instance, you're setting this up for somebody else. So it's a great way for the VP of Corporate when they're in their orientation phase, as they're doing some digging and doing some deeper analysis, to also want to go ahead and set up some notification alerts for themselves while they're within the tool. So if we go back to where we were, what we can do now is that we can see here that we're getting a nice look into this one particular store. Target also gives me the ability, if I want to benchmark two different salespeople against one another, I can simply click on my top performer and just literally drag and drop it in here. If I wanted to scroll down and just pick another person, another salesperson at random, I can, for instance, just click on this person and drag and drop it over as well. And just like that, I now have the ability to benchmark two people against one another. You can do this multiple times. You can have 4 or 5 people benchmarking against one another. So if I'm the VP of Corporate, I can say, you know what, this might be some nice information that I want to send to my store manager over in Texas. What I want to do is that I want to be able to email this dashboard to them so they can take a deeper dive if they need to. So I just go to my top, I unlock the ribbon at the top here, and what I can do now is I can email this off to them. Now as we scroll down here to my email, here we go. we can see that an email is popped up. If I double click on the image, you can see that a snapshot has been taken of the dashboard that I was looking at. So when I send this off, we're just going to send it to myself in this instance. They also are going to get a criteria that's being applied at this point in time. We're looking exactly at store E, and the person also is going to get a review analysis link. What that happens is that once they get this email, this person can then open up and review the dashboard that the VP of corporate was looking at. So really, with just in a few clicks, that person can be exactly where the person at corporate was, and they can even get a deeper dive and look into the store. And just a great way to be able to collaborate internally and save a lot of time in the process. So if I want to go back, what I want to do is get back to where I was before I benchmark my two people against one another. I'm just going to hit the control button and go back a couple times, because I really kind of like this dashboard that I created and then I added some different things to. I might want to be able to send this off to other store managers that I might have nationally. So if I'm at Target now and I've been able to go through our decision loop, I was able to, obviously look at the dashboard, do some orientation by applying some criteria, adding a different object, and I realized, what I want to do, I want to be able to email this off in my action step to our store manager, as well as set up some notification alerts for myself. That way I can stay ahead of the store and kind of see if maybe in this department we have some movement here in the remaining part of the year. So now what happens is that for someone who's more of an advanced user, if they want to have more of an analyst type view of it, what they can do is that they can unlock even some more features that we have within Target. And that's by unlocking our SmartPad. What the SmartPad allows you to do is this is what gives you access to documents not only in a shared folder, but on the personal side. It gives you access to your different source data. For instance, we have access into our retail cube right now in the measures and dimensions that are broken up differently. You can have your property set up. This allows you to, if you want to change different object types to pie charts, to bar charts, if you want to set up and do different color elements within here, or if you even want to set up and do different titles. Target gives you a lot of flexibility in how you can design and do your dashboards. Calculations, we have a lot of different calculations that come right out of the box, but we also give you the ability to build advanced calculations on the front end, or we can have those set up on the back end when we're building the data warehouse. And then finally, we come to criteria. So as I was able to build and amend this dashboard, what I want to do, though, is that I would like to kind of get visibility into how we're doing on a national level in each individual department. I don't want to have to create the wheel all over again. So what I want to do is, since I'm in criteria already, I'm just going to go up to location, and I'm just going to X out of it. What Target did now was that now I'm looking at all my data on the national side. So as you can see now, my map is now populated, showing visibility into all my stores. I have access, if I wanted to take a look at and see my top performing departments, regardless of store, regardless where they're at in the United States, as well as also I can see my top performers and how they're doing across different departments on the right side. So just very quickly, I was able to amend and create a dashboard. Now what I want to do is that I want to be able to show how I can batch this out, as we call it. And instead of me having to create a separate dashboard and send this out, whether it's daily or weekly, to my individual store managers, that can be very time consuming. Well, why don't we let Target work for us instead? What I want to do is that I'm going to go up top to my file button, and we're going to save this as, and we are going to put it in my personal folder. What we're going to do is that we are going to call this one per store basket size, as we call it, per store basket size, and then we're going to click on save. So what I want to do is that once this is created, I want Target to actually work for me, and I want Target to build an individualized report for each store manager instead of having someone in IT or one of my analysts waste time doing it, especially if this is going out daily or even weekly. So I'm going to go right click, we're going to go down to document, and we're going to schedule this for export. If I say, for instance, we want to send this out at 7 a.m. every day, we want to have the format. It's going to go out in an image. You also can set up the language. So if you have offices or stores in different parts of the globe, you also can utilize Target and have them send out in different languages. Delivery, as I mentioned, you can use your Active Directory, but in this instance, what we're going to do is that we're going to send this to a secured folder that everyone has. and then we're going to hit on batch. Now what batch does is, again, it takes one dashboard that might have information across 30 stores, and it's going to create a specific report or an analysis that's sent out to them without having to create an individual one for each store. Target's going to do it for you. So we're going to go down to retail, and what we're going to do is we're going to go to location, we're going to click on code, and I have all my different stores here. Now we're just going to click on OK. What it does is it goes to my per store, it goes to my scheduled jobs folder, excuse me. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to open up my batch folder, and we're going to scroll down, and right here we're looking at per store basket size. Target went ahead and created a specific dashboard for each of my different store managers. So now, just quickly like that, by creating it one time, every single day at 7 a.m., Target's going to send an up-to-date listing of how their different reps are doing. You can do this across different dashboards as well. You can have as many of these scheduled reports or analyses sent out as you like. So that's why the beauty is when you really can identify your most important KPIs, have your dashboards built, then let Target do the work for you by being able to automate and send these out to different store managers. So as you can go down the line, you can see, even down in Store G, each individual store, just based off that one dashboard, was able to get now an individualized report sent to them daily. So that's just one tool and one way that Target really can benefit and save time within an organization, but as well, it give you really insight into how each and every single store is doing. So I'm going to go back up top here, and what we're going to do is that we're going to go to my home screen and show you a way that even the most casual user, maybe someone of your just more normal users per se, can actually use the tool and how they have the ability to make Target work for them. So what they can do is that if you're not really the most computer savvy, you actually can just type in our decision search, and Target's going to be able to build a dashboard for you just based off your different measures and dimensions that you have built within the queue. So for instance, I can just say, show me ATQ, which in this instance is average total quantity sales, by time, by staff, and by store. I'd simply just click on enter. And what it did was that this is a great starting point because I was able to build a quick dashboard with 4 different objects showing my different salespeople, their sales per time, looking at 2014 to 2013, as well as how they're doing in each individual department. If I don't like the way it automatically popped up, what I can do is I can go to properties, and I can say, you know what, let's color code this dashboard or this object within it. You know what, this might look better in pie chart form. So I simply just go up to my properties, we're going to turn this into a pie chart, and when I go to my labels and hints, I want to be able to show what we're looking at here. Click measure name, click OK. And just like that, within just typing in, just for a user wanting to know what they want to look at by time, by staff, by store, their average total quantity sales, Target was easily able to build a dashboard for them. They can go and save this in their personal folder, and then go ahead and just set this up to start on startup for them as well. So what this does also shows is that it doesn't require IT, and it doesn't require other analysts to have to save time for a lot of times for users to be able to get within the Target. It really does allow even the casual user to be self-sufficient within the tool and be able to get that insight, and then therefore, it leaves IT, it leaves analysts the ability to work on other things as well. So one way that companies also can collaborate within the tool before we get to one of our final examples is that within Target, you have the ability to utilize what we call a navigation bar. As I mentioned, the ability to have multi-channel support is huge. You want to be able to have the visibility between sales, between production, between inventory. All these really work and coexist together. Gone are the days of people realizing that, people believing that they work independently. Everything works together, especially when everything is so visible these days on social media. You can take a hit on social media, and sometimes it's almost too late. So really need to be really in tune to, are your orders being shipped out on time? Is your inventory stocked properly? Are sales being communicated to your customer base within your different districts, within your different states when it needs to be, that we continue to push revenue going forward. So this just gives you a nice ability to show you within Target, you can set up different dashboards for production yield. Also gives you the ability to look into different inventory that you might have. So again, this is ways for departments to really look at and know what's going on from a top-down level, so they all can really work together and not be surprised. So our final example, as I go through here before we get back to our slides, is that how do you build some analyses and reports if you're an analyst? Because these are the people that are going to be really pushing out reports, pushing out dashboards. You want to be able to communicate these to people across different departments. So for one thing you can do is that what we're going to do is we're going to go into our source data, and we're going to go into look at some of our sales information. What I want to do is that I want to go ahead through here, and I want to build a crosstab. So I simply click on crosstab, and whereas before we just typed in our measures and dimensions, here this gives you another way to show that how you can do it. I just want to take a look at my products. As you can see, Target's building a one axis, and what I want to do is that I want to look at profit versus revenue. Simply click on my lightning bolt. And so what Target's showing me now is profit as well as revenue across my different products as well as my different product groups or items within there. If I want to go through and I want to add something else, what I can do is that I can simply go back up to my source data, and I can just right-click and say, I want to add another object. Well, what I want to do is that I want to add another object looking at how we're doing on a quarterly level. So I can just right-click, add as object. As we see here now, Target's showing me how we're doing quarter one. It looks like we're doing pretty good. We have a nice little flow to where our data is going. I can even put a regression line on here, and Target's telling me that we have some nice upward growth, that we're doing really well heading into round out the year. So what I can do is that when I'm looking here, I can say my jeans, my T-shirts, my different product lines within there. What I can do, though, is that I want to take a look at and say, what are my top 10 selling items regardless of whatever product group they lie in. I just go to calculations, and on my left-hand side, Target actually allows me on the bottom left here to add top 10 lists within my data. So I'm going to click on top 10, and we are going to apply the top list changes. So what Target's showing me now is that my top 10 products, regardless of product group. And what I want to do, though, is I want to go ahead and save this. And just like before, when I sent that out to my individual store managers, I want to send off to my store managers and have Target work for me again and send out a dashboard once a week, letting them know of what their top 10 items selling are. So we're going to go to File, same thing, go to my personal folder, and we're just going to save this one as top 10 items year to date. And then we're going to click on Save. What I'm going to do is do the same thing like we did before. We're going to schedule for export. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to have this delivery go out to my batch folder again, as well as enable batch processing. And I just want this to go out to our different store managers that we have within our tool right here and click on OK. So if I go back to my batch folder, we're going to see that if I scroll down, we should have within my folder here, top 10 items year to date. So I was able to build and then create and send this out, as well as each of my individual store managers are going to get a analysis or dashboard of how they're going to do once a week. So really, that's really a nice, neat way, for store managers to communicate with one another. You also can build comparisons, send those out. We're running a little close on time here, so what I want to do is I want to get back to where I was within our presentation. And what I want to do, though, is that continue to go through and just explain a little bit more how we work within the Dynamics community. As I mentioned through here, we have the ability to do predictive analytics. You can forecast trends and results. You can really get a good look into and set up automatic alerts for KPIs. We have mobility support, as I mentioned, so you can view things when you're traveling when it's convenient for you. As well as I mentioned before, deep integration into SharePoint. We can just have a snapshot set up, so you're just getting one dashboard or one, it could be an income statement that you're looking at inside your internal portal, or it can be dynamic and active web parts. So if you set up real-time analytics, it can be shared on the portal, and you can be just being fed from Target. So you're getting the most up-to-date information, pulling either from just crosstabs or pulling in from different gauges and bar charts. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I might have forgot already, but we do have the ability to latch on to your NAV and AX data. We have pre-built cubes and accelerators that really allow us to build those cubes very quickly, but also gives you the flexibility to add in any customizations that you might have made, as well as pull in other data sources. So you're not just married to what you have in Dynamics. So if you have, again, payroll information, Access, Excel files, Quandl, Google Trends, whatever it is, you then can pull that in, mesh it with your NAV data, and hopefully get up and running as soon as possible. We have a large amount of AX customers, not only in the United States but across the world. We always can provide those references if necessary, but we're very heavy, obviously, across all different verticals, from retail and wholesale, as well as service and manufacturing. We also have customer case stories available across different channels and different verticals. So especially in the retail space, I know everyone here is on. We have a lot of retail customers. So if you ever need us to provide some insight into how it's working for them, please let us know. We can always connect you with one of the executives from one of our current customers. So if you're interested in learning more, you can join the discussion around BI and analytics by always going to target.com/blog. It really gives you the ability, as we continually update our blogs, of showing how we feel we're experts in the industry of retail and how we can make Target work for you. We also have ebooks. You can watch our videos and really get some insight into Target if you're just kind of curious what we can do. You also can reach out to me directly. It's at@target.com for a free consultation. And what I can do is I can take you through maybe a more robust demo and even maybe more of a specific demo that can really take a look at your own data. Because that's our goal, is to really help you understand your data, have a universal truth, and allow everyone to kind of collaborate and become a data-driven organization. So as I go through here, as you can see, Lenny the Lion here, we've tried to help you navigate the business jungle and be the king of that jungle. So it looks like we have a question here on the bottom right, because I know we have about 10 minutes left. It says, can you create financial statements and financial KPIs from Dynamics 213R2? Yes, we can. That's where we would incorporate our consulting side. We would be able to marry up and match up with what currently you're using with reports and help build them and then be able to push them out within Target. Any more questions?
Adam, we do have another question here. How do you support cloud versus on-premise data sources?
Oh, great question. We actually have the ability to do both. I would say a majority of our customers use Target on-premise, but we're starting to see a need for ability to work within the cloud, so we offer that as well. And so no matter, again, where you're at or how you want to view Target, we can allow that to happen. So.
All right. Why don't we make a final call for questions here, and then we will begin wrapping up. Just as a reminder, today's session has been recorded. We'll be making it available to you after the session concludes. Adam, thanks so much for joining us today.
No, I appreciate it. It was fun. I hope everyone got something out of it. And again, my contact information is right there on the screen. If you have any questions that might come up afterwards, feel free to reach out to me.
All right. Well, I do not see any other questions at the moment, so we will start wrapping up. At this point, I will wish everyone a good day, and thank you for attending.